Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti Nashtaprayeshu Avatareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityanand Balram, text 59 onwards. Jagat karan nahe prakriti jad rupa, Shakti sanchariya tare Krishna kare kripa. Because Prakriti is dull and inert, it cannot actually be the cause of the material world. But Lord Krishna shows his mercy by infusing his energy into the dull, inert material nature. So it starts moving, it starts doing some activity. Krishna Shakti Prakriti hai Gona Karan, Agni Shakti Loha Yache Karai Jaran. Thus, Prakriti, by the energy of Lord Krishna, becomes the secondary cause, just as iron becomes red hot by the energy of fire. Atev Krishna Mool Jagat Karan, Prakriti Karan Yache Jagalastan. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the original cause of the cosmic manifestation. Prakriti is like the nipples on the neck of a goat, for they cannot give any milk. So, original cause is Krishna. Prakriti just helps, does its work after getting activated by the glands of Mahavishnu, who is expansion of expansion of expansion of Krishna. The external energy composed of Pradhan of Prakriti as an ingredient supplying portion and Maya as a causal portion is known as Maya Shakti. Inert material nature is not the actual cause of material manifestation. For Karana Arunavashai Vishnu or Mahavishnu, the plenary expansion of Krishna activates all the ingredients. It's in this way that material nature has the power to supply the ingredients. The example given is that iron has no power to heat or burn, but after coming in contact with fire, the iron becomes red hot and can then diffuse heat and burn other things. So material nature is like iron, for it has no independence to act without the touch of Vishnu, who is compared to fire. Lord Vishnu activates material nature by the power of his glands, and then the iron-like material nature becomes a material supplying agent, just as iron made red hot becomes a burning agent. So material nature is like iron, but without coming in touch with the fire of Vishnu, cannot do anything. I mean, act like fire, cannot become a burning agent. So material nature cannot independently become an agent for supplying the material ingredients. This is more clearly explained by Sri Kapil Dev, an incarnation of Godhead. Although smoke, flaming wood, and sparks are all considered together as ingredients of a fire, the flaming wood is nevertheless different from the fire, and the smoke is different from the flaming wood. The material elements, earth, water, fire, etc., are like smoke. The living entities are like sparks, and material nature, as Pradhan, is like the flaming wood. But all of them together are recipients of power from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and are thus able to manifest their individual capacities. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of all manifestations. Material nature can supply only when it is activated by the glands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada again and again want to make sure that we understand what's the position of Krishna and what's the position of Maya or Durgaji. Durgaji is very, very important personality, no doubt about it. But without the power invested by Krishna, she cannot do anything. And to bewilder the atheist more, what Krishna does. He performs these pastimes. Just like during the war of Mahabharata, before the war started, Krishna asked Arjun to go get that Shakti weapon, to pray to Durga ji. Now, those who are not devotees, those who don't understand scriptures, they say, see, Krishna asked Arjun to pray to Durga ji. So why shouldn't we pray to Durga? Well, Krishna has his own plan. But just like when Arjun had to go please Lord Shiva and get Pashupatastra, he first fought with Lord Shiva because Shivaji came in the form of a hunter. And then when Arjun or even Shivji could not defeat Arjun, and Arjun was also not able to defeat Shiva, Lord Shiva. And then he understood it as Lord Shiva, and he begged for mercy. He prayed, he offered obeisances. Then Shivji asked, "What do you want?" He said, "I want Pashupatastra." But he said, "What did Krishna tell you?" Then there was conversation, and then Shivji said, "If Krishna said you are his friend, we have no power over you. You are after all Krishna's friend, Krishna's devotee. So we'll do whatever you want." Means all the demigods are like that. So we have to understand. And worshipping Durga is not wrong, but if we worship her as a demigoddess in asking for some material benefits, that's where the problem. Worship her as a Vaishnavi. She's a Vaishnavi after all. But understanding her position and the position of Krishna. And only the glance of Mahavishnu, and then she gets active. It's not like Mahavishnu himself has to come and do the activity, just a glance, and that's it. Just as a woman can deliver a child after being impregnated by the semen of a man, so material nature can supply the material elements after being glanced upon by Mahavishnu. Therefore, Pradhan cannot be independent of the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Maya Adhyakshena, it comes under the superintendence. The original source of the material elements is Krishna. Therefore, the attempt of the atheistic Sankhya philosophers to consider material nature the source of these elements, forgetting Krishna, is useless. Like trying to get milk from the nipple-like bumps of skin hanging on the neck of a goat. Okay, somebody got unmuted. Please mute yourself. So this example of trying to get milk from the nipple-like bumps of skin hanging on the neck of a goat is useless because they don't carry any milk. So this is the example Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving to all the atheistic Sankhya philosophers, that nothing is above Krishna, nothing is independent. Nobody is independent of Krishna. Maya anshe kahitare nimitta karan seha nahi yate karta hetu narayan. The Maya aspect of material nature is the immediate cause of the cosmic manifestation. But it cannot be the real cause, for the original cause is Lord Narayana. Ghatera nimitta hetu yeche kumbhakar, taiche jagatera karta purushavata. Just as the original cause of an earthen pot is a potter, so the creator of the material world is the first Purusha incarnation, or Karana Arnavashayi Vishnu, Mahavishnu. Krishna karta mayatar karena sahai, ghatera karana chakra danda adipai. Lord Krishna is the creator and Maya only helps him as an instrument. just like the potter's wheel and other instruments, which are the instrumental causes of the part. So the instruments don't think they are making the part. The potter is making the part. Dura haita purush kare maya te avadhan jiva rupa viryatate kare nadhan. The first Purusha casts his glance at Maya from a distance, and thus he impregnates her with the seed of life in the form of the living entities. Eka anga bhase kare Maya te milan, Maya haite janme tabe brahmande ragan. The reflected rays of his body mix with Maya, and thus Maya gives birth to myriad universes. The reflected rays of his body, the Brahmjyoti, mix with Maya, and then all the ingredients are supplied. The Vedic conclusion is that the cosmic manifestation visible to the eyes of the conditioned soul is caused by the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, through the exertion of his specific energies. Although in the conclusion of atheistic deliberation, this manifested cosmic exhibition is attributed to material nature. The energy of the absolute truth is exhibited in three ways: spiritual, material, and marginal. The absolute truth is identical with his spiritual energy. Only when contacted by the spiritual energy can the material energy work, and the temporary material manifestations thus appear active. In the conditioned state, the living entities of the marginal energy are a mixture of spiritual and material energies. The marginal energy is originally under the control of spiritual energy, but under the control of material energy, the living entities have been wandering in forgetfulness within the material world since time immemorial. So the three energies, again, Prabhupada is telling us: spiritual, material, and marginal. And what are their relationships? The conditioned state is caused by misuse of the individual independence of the spiritual platform. For this separates a living entity from the association of the spiritual energy. But when the living entity is enlightened by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee and becomes inclined to revive his original state of loving service, he is on the most auspicious platform of eternal bliss and knowledge. And when he becomes inclined, I mean, he hasn't even come to his original state. He has only become inclined to revive his original state. He is on the most auspicious platform of eternal bliss and knowledge. Means he's on the spiritual platform. The marginal jiva or living entity misuses his independence and becomes averse to the eternal service attitude. When he independently thinks, he's not energy, but the energetic. This misconception of his own existence leads him to the attitude of lording it over material nature. So this misconception, we think we are the boss, but Krishna has to make sure that we understand who's the boss. Material nature appears to be just the opposite of the spiritual energy. The fact is that material energy can work only when in contact with the spiritual energy. Originally, the energy of Krishna is spiritual, but it works in diverse ways, like electrical energy, which can exhibit the functions of refrigerating or heating through its manifestations in different ways. The material energy is spiritual energy covered by a cloud of illusion or Maya. Therefore, the material energy is not self-sufficient in working. Krishna invests his spiritual energy into material energy, and then it can act, just as iron can act like fire after being heated by fire. Material energy can act only when empowered by the spiritual energy. So even in the glance of Vishnu is spiritual because it's coming from Lord Vishnu. When covered by the cloud of material energy, the living entity, who is also a spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, forgets about the activities of the spiritual energy and considers all that happens in the material manifestation to be wonderful. And this is our situation actually. What to speak of material manifesto? We think whatever is happening in my country, in my city, on my street is also very wonderful. What to speak of the whole universe? But a person who is engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, and who is therefore already situated in the spiritual energy, can understand that the material energy has no independent powers. Whatever actions are going on are due to the help of the spiritual energy. Even anything in the material world, like all the wonderful creations by scientists, they cannot happen without the spiritual energy, without the living entity in the body of the scientist to do that. And they cannot even move. Like the best of the computers cannot work on its own until it is worked by a programmer or a person working on the computer. Spiritual energy. The material energy, which is a perverted form of the spiritual energy, presents everything pervertedly, thus causing misconceptions and duality. Material scientists and philosophers, conditioned by the spell of material nature, suppose that material energy acts automatically, and therefore they are frustrated, like an illusion person who tries to get milk from the nipple-like bunches of skin on the neck of a goat. So material scientists and philosophers, they're frustrated because they think everything, material nature should work automatically, but it cannot, it doesn't. As there is no possibility of getting milk from these bunches of skin, there is similarly no possibility that anyone will be successful in understanding the original cause of creation by putting forward theories produced by the material energy. Such an attempt is a manifestation of ignorance. Original cause of creation. People, scientists have been trying, and they thought they can make this super collider and make the atoms hit each other at very high speed, and they'll figure out how the creation happened. Another nonsense idea. The material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Maya or illusion, because in two capacities, by supplying the material elements and by causing the material manifestation, it makes the conditioned soul unable to understand the real truth of creation. However, when a living entity is liberated from the conditioned life of matter, he can understand the two different activities of material nature, namely covering and bewilderment. So there are two activities of material nature or Maya. One is called Avrana Atmika, means covering. It covers the consciousness of a living entity. And it's a bewildering, Prakshepatmika, means bewildering, or it says, also somewhere says throws into the Bhausagar, into the ocean of material existence. First it covers and it throws, so we cannot get out. The origin of creation is the Supreme Personality of God. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the cosmic manifestation is working under the direction of the Supreme Lord, who invests the material energy with three material qualities. Agitated by these qualities, the elements supplied by the material energy produce varieties of things, just as an artist produces varieties of pictures by mixing the three colors, red, yellow, and blue. So there are only three colors actually. And by combination, it becomes so many varieties of colors. Yellow represents the quality of goodness, and red represents passion, and blue represents ignorance. Therefore, the colorful creation, material creation, is but an interaction of these three qualities. So these three qualities, red is passion, yellow, goodness, blue, ignorance. And by interaction represents an 81 varieties of mixture, means 3 times 3 equaling 9 and 9 times 9 equaling 81. So how does it? And somewhere Prabhupada said these 81 combinations of modes of nature, it gives rise to 84 million or 84 lakh species of life, 8.4 million. So what is this 3 times 3 equaling 9 and 9 times 9 equaling 81? So there are 3 colors, red, yellow, blue, or yellow, red, blue. So 3 times 3, where did this 3 times 3 come from? Actually, in every color or every mode, goodness, there are again 3 divisions. What are called? Madhyam, Uttam, Madhyam, and Kanishta. Not Adhikari, but 3 divisions. So again, for every division, there are 3 more divisions. So that is how it becomes 3 times 3 equal to 9 and 9 times 9 equals 81. So there are 81 shades, we can say. So 9 shades in red, 9 shades of yellow, 9 shades of blue. And when they all mix together, it becomes 81. And this gives rise to 84 lakh species. So deluded by material energy, the conditioned soul, enamored by these 81 varieties of manifestations, want to lord it over material energy, just as a moth wants to enjoy fire. This illusion is a net result of the conditioned soul's forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When conditioned, the soul is impelled by the material energy to engage in sense gratification, whereas one enlightened by the spiritual energy engages himself in the service of the Supreme Lord in his eternal relationship. So that's all how it works. Krishna is the original cause of the spiritual, and he is the covered cause of the material manifestation. He is also the original cause of the marginal potency, the living entities. He is both the leader and maintainer of the living entities, who are called the marginal potency because they can act under the protection of the spiritual energy or under the cover of the material energy. So the Prabhupada used 2 words, under the protection of the spiritual energy. So in the spiritual world, we are not covered. We work under this protection. But here in the material world, we're completely covered. With the help of the spiritual energy, we can understand that independence is visible only in Krishna, who by his inconceivable energy is able to act in any way he likes. So Prabhupada writes another paragraph, I'll just go to this end. A living entity can never become the controller of the material or spiritual energies. The natural position of the living being is always as a subordinate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one agrees to act in such a position, he attains perfection in life. But if one rebels against this principle, he is in the conditioned state. So that is why our position is Jivera Swaruper Hare Krishnera Nitya Das. Nitya Das. This is our position. Just we have to remember that. And when we are in the devotional service, again we are doing service. We're given a title, Das or Dasi. So we understand. We are not boss, we are Das, we are servants. And not just lip service. It's a real service. The attitude of servant has to be there. And that's why we call each other Prabhu. Prabhu, you're my master. I'm your servant. And there should be I mean, not just writing in the emails or messages, your humble servant or this or that. It should come from within. And then this attitude is what purifies us when we serve in the mood of a servant, when we take for devotion service seriously as a servant. And then we make progress spiritually. And then we become independent. Independent in the sense, we are then, we take shelter of the spiritual energy of the Lord instead of being covered by the material energy. Independently, with our independence, we give up our independence. That we are dependent on you, O Krishna. We are surrendered unto you. That is real independence. But the mood of service has to be there. Very much a service has to be there. Not the mood of enjoyer or controller. I'm a controller. We can be given some service, but not as a, we start thinking, I'm the controller of that. Then Krishna has to show us our real position. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, I
Yes,
did not understand 3 into 3, I guess 81 fades, I understand. But how do you correlate that to the 81,000 species that we have?
or 84 lakh.
84 lakh. How does the correlation happen there?
See, every species has some either passion or goodness or ignorance is prominent. But the other shades of passion, if goodness is prominent, then the other shade of passion and ignorance will be there. So from 81 to 84 lakh, how it translates, I don't know, but this is how it works. That's all I know.
So what maybe the writer says is some traits of goodness, passion, and ignorance is there in all the species.
Yes.
Okay. That is understandable.
Yeah, that's all it is. But different shades are there. So like blue represents ignorance. So in trees, they are in more ignorance than other species.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Manta. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji.